Hello guys, how are we doing and welcome back to the channel. A completely new format of video is here today where we're going to be reviewing a CDL match and picking apart how the better team ended up winning and how the team that ended up losing. Today we're reviewing OpTic Faze match that was happening last weekend. There's a lot of scrutiny around OpTic roster currently, with Kenny being under the microscope quite considerably. And we're going to be looking at what causes the loss, what drives the loss for OpTic. Is it the gunfights? Is it the fact that Kenny goes negative? Is it the fact that Dashi starts negative in this match? But yeah, let me know if you want more of this sort of format. We're going to be looking at spawns, looking at how they managed to flip, and it's going to hopefully be a really interesting video to all of you out there, looking at the highest level of Call of Duty and even seeing the mistakes some of them are making in today's video. So without further ado, let's kick it off. Obviously, this is the first time I've been doing it. If you have any constructive criticism or things you'd like to see done a little bit differently, just let me know. So currently we've got OpTic, and a lot of my focus, by the way, when I'm looking at this, is going to be down here at the minimap, because this is what matters, okay? Gunfights are gunfights. They're going to all mostly be able to shoot straight, okay? There might be some weird shots here, there, and everywhere, but I'm mostly going to be looking down at this minimap, and so we'll be cutting to the minimap like so, every so often. So OpTic ended up spawning on the bad sides because P2's over here, so they've got to not only get a decent amount of time or stop the enemy from getting Faze getting a good time at P1, they've also got to be able to push through to P2. So Shotzzy's done an absolutely huge play here. OpTic have managed to get the initial kills. Shotzzy's pushed around the back left, essentially trying to block the spawn. Okay, so they've communicated, and you've seen here, he's just tried to shoot at Simp, this number 7 player, and Dashi's hoping to collect the kill. Simp does an absolutely huge job to player's life, but because the Shotzzy's there, he's blocking. The 3 players that have just died on the Faze side are all spawning back here, and obviously on Vault, as you guys know, if I just look at the minimap here, if you're over here, enemy spawn here. Okay, so the Shotzzy's blocking, he's over this right hand side, causing Faze to spawn all the way out over here. But meanwhile, because Simp has done such a good job at playing their life, he's managed to drag Dashi all the way to this point of view here, looking for him. Shotzzy's still calling him out. There's 2 players coming off spawn, and Dash is still turning around trying to look for this kill. Meanwhile, Faze are all spawning in and getting good amount of ground to the objective here. As you guys obviously know, when you are playing Call of Duty, you need to know when the enemies are spawning. You need to try and cut them off the spawn. Okay, that's the ideal spot. Because Simp is performing absolutely unreal Call of Duty here, he's just managed to get the first kill on Pred. Shotzzy's managed to chase him down. Faze start to spawn out, but because Simp's still alive, he's got all of OpTic looking for him. Okay, you've got this player number 1 who's looking for him. Shotzzy's looking for him as well. Dashi's looking for him. Meanwhile, Faze is spawning up and getting easy access to the front of the objective here. So yeah, essentially, Sim's done a real good job to play his life. They managed to get a couple kills, and Faze have just managed to get all the way up to cut steps without even being seen. So real good shout out to Sim there for playing his life so well and enabling OpTic essentially to be broken just like so. The fact that all of OpTic were just turned and looking at him or looking for him has caused that whole break. But still a close game. It's not over yet. Some questionable nade throw in there. Dash is doing a really good job of cutting the map, because essentially if Simp managed to get through that objective there, OpTic spawn out. So shout out to Dashi for that initial blood there of them getting through that objective, because otherwise it could have been a real horror story at the start of this. So playing for this kill is absolutely good. Again, I'm looking at minimap. It's getting to 5 seconds of P1. You sort of want to be playing for, and the pros will know this, that you want to be playing for the exits out of the current hill to stop them getting through to the new objective. And they've got a good setup as it is. So Dash is on the right. You've got Shotzzy and Kenny around the similar area here. I think Dash, Kenny's sort of trying to look over. But the whole map is pretty much covered. You've got Pred watching the right. It's a good setup to make sure that Faze can't get through to the right-hand side of the map, which is really solid. So Pred reads this player here, and I think he gets a dud slide, which is a real shame, because you can see him like crouching ADS at the wall, and what he intended to do was to actually slide down, so that's a real shame. But because he's got the first death of that break, essentially, Harrz is already being really annoying and trying to get through. He draws Kenny out of position here. Kenny was watching middle. He's pulled Kenny out of position. Meanwhile, whilst they do that, Selim smartly decides, okay, now Kenny's drawn out, focusing on Harrz, I can seep through middle and play that gap that has now been created because Harrz has dragged the player towards them. So Sel's managed to get through. So while Kenny's so preoccupied with Harrz, he does manage to get the kill. So that's a huge kill, because if any of the Faze team end up in this right-hand side here, Faze end up spawning in. Shotzi's also done a real good job of clawing back here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. He was over here. He clawed back a little bit, managed to get the trade on Celium, just like so. And now we're in a position where OpTic are still spawning in the good area. Faze is still spawning out. So we're a real good play there. Faze did a real good job at trying to break that, but OpTic still maintain the initial control. The only thing that Shotzi could have done better there is probably played his life a little bit more. But yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. You try to make ground and immediately it means that Abizi manages to, well, not Abizi, Celium, sorry, Simp. But they've just walked in the front because of the amount of pressure they're putting on, because of how much these players are playing their life on these trees here. Dash is so preoccupied by this. Shotzi's managed to get blooded. OpTic are still spawning in. A little bit of a rough situation. And they walk straight through. But it's not over yet. OpTic are still spawning close. This is still good COD. It's fundamentally easier to hold this hill if you've got the spawns. And yeah, Shots is still in the back. Faze are really good at counting names and making sure they know what players are left alive. And the fact that, you know, they knew Shotsy was alive, they know what sort of player Shotsy is. So they weaned them out, which is quite an interesting play. But they've instantly flipped. And that's obviously what you want to try and avoid. The fact that they've just been able to get all the way through, get the kills that matter. Pred and Kenny both fall at this middle push, you know, trying to redefend again. And it's just opened the spawn up for Faze. So a real mixture of a bunch of players maybe not doing what they should have done. It all starts off with that Pred slide out, right? If he wins that gunfight, if he manages to get the kill, he should be getting on that right-hand side. You're probably looking for a really good OpTic set because Kenny wouldn't have had to be dragged out. Shotzi wouldn't have had to come back. So that whole death caused by Pred and that first blood loss from Pred there is essentially broken that whole OpTic setup apart. And they struggled to readjust all from that one gunfight. So OpTic are still trying to get the most scrap time here. Faze still spawn up because of where they're positioned. But the worst thing you want to do as OpTic here is spawn Faze out, because if you guys don't know, P3 is in this icon here. P3 is here, but you really want this back spawn control because P4 is here. So you really want to avoid spawning Faze, the white players, all the way over here. So OpTic have got to be very careful that they don't like get too much into the spawn, because otherwise they will flip. So Dashi has made a little bit of a bad play here. So Faze has just died. Beezy just died, okay? Draza dies, Pred dies. So yeah, Beezy spawns in. We're still looking for Draza to spawn in. He's still waiting to respawn. And as Draza's waiting to respawn, Dashi pushes this vault spawn here. You can see here, Dashi number 4 actually pushes that spawn out, essentially blocking it. And if we watch what happens here, because of Dashi's position, he then goes all the way into the depths. He spawned Draza on the main point, on the block spot of the new objective. So the fact that Dashi has pushed all the way around that hill there and essentially blocked Draza's spawn has meant Draza spawned all the way out over here. And now OpTic are spawning in because OpTic can't spawn out because Draza's here. No one from Faze is blocking this spawn, so that OpTic are now any death from OpTic is just going to spawn them in over and over again. And Faze will know that. That's the thing. Faze will know that. Whilst this hill's live and Faze are getting the first kills, OpTic will just continually spawn here. It's a real good play. Thankfully, though, we see Pred make an absolutely huge play and kill the player that Dashi eventually spawned out. But the only problem with what we've got now is because Faze left that spawn open, OpTic OpTic didn't win the first gunfight. OpTic can now spawn in the back of P2, and it's not we're not looking good. So a really good P2 for Faze, even though OpTic had the initial hold. That first blood from Pred really made it difficult. So this is an interesting play. So at the moment, it's a bit of a stalemate. We're waiting to see what's happening here. You can see on the mini-map, you've got Pred, who's blocking, being an absolute clutch player here. Abizi's managed to leak through, though, somehow. But the other two players on the objective, you've got Dashi and Kenny are sort of sat on the planters, basically trying to hold their life. But because Abizi's managed to leak through and Abizi hasn't killed Pred, he hasn't gone for that Pred gunfight, he's basically enabling the rest of his team to, you know, jump on the objective. And Abizi's always here now to be annoying. Abizi can now kill Dashi, which I think is what he does. And Dashi's like, what? He's top P4, top art, blah, 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 blah. And Faze have done a real nice pointer here of leaving Pred, being in the spot, getting the kills, and now OpTic are now spawning out. But aBeZy's aware that that Pred is here. He's very aware Pred is here. Number 8 in Selim has spawned to the side of P4 because Pred is here. If Pred wasn't here, he would have spawned a little bit further back. So they know Pred's here. And Pred's doing an absolutely huge thing of trying to play his life. Unfortunately, he doesn't try and clear aBeZy. They know aBeZy's here. I think maybe he thought that was aBeZy running across. I'm not sure. But they've let aBeZy play alive. They knew he was there because they got a clip there. And they've got the kills that matter. And now Faze are all spawning in. Meanwhile, OpTic are spawning all the way out. And Spimp's in a real nice position. He's pushed up quite far because Faze are blocking their spawn on the left. Simp can push up, and it spawns OpTic, as you can see, all the way out over here. So this is really nice. There's not long left to the current objective, 13 seconds. OpTic's main focus should be on P4 now because it's a real easy hill to hold. But you see, OpTic have got a real nice advantage, and what Faze have done brilliantly is that when they've spawned in, instead of trying to pinch P4 and get the scrap time of P4, they're just going to nuke. So although player like Dash is sat on the objective and is able to get all that time, and Faze have literally just gone around him and gone to the new objective, and what that's doing, because the other Faze team in aBeZy and Selim are playing their life so well on the P3 to P4 cross, OpTic are still spawning out. This is a real huge play from aBeZy and Selim. They're both really good at playing their life, and to be fair, we've seen the same out of Simp as well. So yeah, it's a real hard matchup for OpTic. Super cruddy spot from Selim. Does get traded by Shotzi, so we're in a real nice position here. OpTic have Dash is sort of looking for the kills. You can see he's not quite. In essence, you should really try and get OpTic to flood all around this backhand side, but because OpTic are trying to get kills, you can see Dashi isn't looking for the objective here. Dashi is looking to play cuts. He's thinking, if I zoom into this minimap, his position here makes it look like he's looking at the players. He's thinking Faze are going to spawn pool and are going to run in front of him. He doesn't understand that Faze are going to be spawning scaffolding because of where their positioning is. So the fact he wasn't as part of that defense, if I scroll this back a bit, you can see this whole time, OpTic are getting kills. If you look at number 4 here, he is already playing for Selim's kill. He's looking at this white cross here, whilst all of OpTic are trying to get around the spawn and get to back. Dash is the one that's actually trying to play the cut spawn here. He understands playing number 1 spawns in, and then he reacts. So that little 4 or 5 second delay of Dashi not being able to do much has enabled Faze to just gain more and more control. But this is a good position. You can see how far Faze are now spawning out. Because of where the Faze were positioned out of the hill, OpTic have managed to spawn in all behind, so they've got a really good spawn. A real fortunate spawn, actually. Yeah, so this is a good hold. 7 bullets. Yeah, it's fine. Nice, so we're in a good position here. Faze have done a real good job of already making a lot of ground, so it's already starting to be P1, and you can see there's already 2 Faze players over that halfway line. Pred gets a good first kill. That's really underrated, actually. So, with the whole of P1, obviously, you want the P2 spawns, because P2 is obviously easy to hold on this right-hand side, and you want these right-hand side spawns over here. So, player number 5 has understood that, okay, his team are going to be late to the party, so I can't remember what player this is. This is Draza. He's gone all the way around the left. He's trying to cut the spawn off from OpTic. He knows OpTic are going to be in the back. This gunfight between Draza and Draza and Dashi, sorry, player number 4, determines who gets the better spawn for P2 into P1. So an absolutely huge gunfight from Draza there. He does get traded out, but because Shotzi doesn't then try and drive into the spawn and drive, he probably wouldn't have blocked in time anyway. But Cell was essentially spawned here because Dashi's died, and now OpTic are going to be spawning all the way out over probably in Art because of where player number 7 is, and it's going to make them spawn, as you can see, the furthest possible point away from P2. I know this one because I managed to kill Simp, which is good. The shot, as you can see, there's so much emphasis on OpTic trying to break that right hand side to try and get the P2 spawn. So real good plays from these. It's still a real tight game. And it's already in Kenny's thought that he needs to rotate to P2. He's sort of leaving P1. P2 is an easy hill to hold. A close gunfight. And because he's not hard blocking and Pred and Shotzi are in lights, they're pushed up to this area here where you can see, not in the minimap, Faze is still spawning. In order for Faze not to spawn in, Kenny has to be all the way on the right-hand side here, like even round. It's got to be sort of in this zone rather than over here. So he should know they're still spawning in based on where his players are positioned, or his teammates are positioned. So Draz has spawned in. They misread the spawn. They misread Draz's spawn, and Draz has managed to just leak through the back again. And as soon as Pred spawns out, they know that that's the case, and you can see two arrows turn, and now they're looking for Draz. Draz has done an absolutely huge play there. He's positioned himself really safely. No one was there to try and help the rotation, and now Faze are going into P2. Although it's a close-up to this point, Faze going to P2 with a really good spawn. And that all comes from that play from Draz. Like the fact that if we rotate this all the way back to it literally comes down to that point where we're getting kills. OpTic and Shotzi and Pred are pushed into lights without anyone in OpTic blocking. So I know they've sort of coming from that direction anyway, but they should understand that if they're not hard blocking, if OpTic aren't hard blocking, and like members of their team are pushed through lights, Faze are going to spawn out. Kenny or whoever on the team needs to be all the way back here to stop Faze spawning in. Draza does spawn in. Kenny doesn't read it. No one reads it, to be fair. Kenny joins the objective on the time, and as soon as Pred spawns in, you can see arrows change. They don't know where he is, and because we're on the objective, we know Pred's just managed to cut off a couple of kills. More than one player should have gone for this objective here. More than one player should have looked for this kill. Bruce is looking for it. Kenny's sort of looking for it. Kenny decides to turn around and help the objective here because Pred dies, which is fine. He's probably commed. There's two here. He leaves Dashy to just win the 1v1 in the spawn, but because Draza's got such a good position here, he eventually gets the kill, and it literally all stems from that play.
The other two players fighting around the point. Nobody else was there on rotation, so you
let me just skip this forward again to where we were. So unfortunate nade from Dash. So this is a real nice play here. So Shotzi manages to lose a gunfight to Simp. Kenny, instead of just pushing the objective, he tries to challenge Simp immediately. You can see he immediately gets that trade on Simp, and him getting that Simp kill allows his team to spawn in. So that is a huge kill from Kenny there, enabling his team to essentially spawn in behind him in a good spawns. And that's all from that trade on Simp. If Kenny doesn't trade Simp in that situation, Faze keep those good spawns. OpTic spawn all the way out. Yeah, real good situation. Real good kills. First kills for Kenny. But now they should understand that Faze is spawned in the back. And they do. This is a real guy's setup. Now, the only thing that's raking their defense, I can see here, Selim actually spawned out, so they didn't quite get all the timing on that. So far, so good. OpTic haven't struggled too much in this game. I know Dashy's 5 and 17, but at the end of the day, they're only 8 seconds behind Faze, going into the second P3. A real good kill from Cell.
Often 5 and 17, having a bit of a rough one, but you're only down 10. So Kenny start to get going and turn this around.
Right, Kenny's just managed to get a kill back here, and now he's sort of trying to play his life as much as he can. He baited the push round, so he's done something really good here. So unfortunately, Dashy falls on the rotation. Kenny gets the first blood, and then he baits the push into Art, because this player who just died is going to see that. The player who's top Art might see that, and the fact he's just baited that basically sends all the team of attention on Faze to that player. You can see player number 7 is looking for him. The player number 6 is sort of looking for him. Player number 8 has got to be conscious that they're there. And because of Simp, you can see these players here are all sort of looking for. These are all looking for Kenny, and that enables the rest of Kenny's team to essentially jump on the objective and just break that hill. So Kenny's done a real huge thing there, and the fact that he's played live for so long. Pred's allowed to get through because there were so many eyes looking for Kenny. So that's a huge play from Kenny, and all of that now just comes to the point where Faze slightly spawned out. But this kill is huge. This kill is so huge. Selim just somehow manages to play his life. Kenny loses that gunfight, and now we're back to the situation where Faze is spawning in, OpTic is spawning out. It's those real tight gunfights, that one-on-one to break the spawn 2 times in a row now out of that have costed OpTic their ideal hold. So in good spawn time here, going into P4, there's I'm just going to pause this because this comms. Going into P4, there's it's fairly even. They just need to really break this hill. This is a huge moment for OpTic. Big kill from Simp that. Huge comms from Ken that they've pushed out front of BZ. That's exactly where he is. You can hear Kenny saying that they're spawned in the back, so again, that's real good comms from Ken. So she got seen. So this is when it starts to break down a little bit. And it all comes from not getting that initial kill to break P3. Faze have just done such a good job at holding their spawn and holding their life, playing in that art room, essentially spawning OpTic all the way out over and over again. Just had the comms that Simp sitting in P1. So OpTic should really be able to jump on this quite simply here. Ken's doing a real good job. If I zoom into the minimap quickly, Ken is hard blocking, meaning that his team now can push up and get the cuts off the hill. So this is something you don't see on a scoreboard. And essentially enables his team to push all the way through P1, cutting the spawn off. Ken's hard blocking. And look where Faze are spawning with OpTic push through as well. And that's all because Ken's here, not getting the kills, being a good team player. Now Pred dies. Pred's going to spawn in behind him. Kenny then pushes through, be it just to trying to keep that pressure up. So that's the right play.
Let's go to listen in now with Faze.
Now this is where it really goes wrong. So they're playing for 26 seconds. They try and pinch. If we look at the minimap again here, because that's what I'm sort of looking at. They've understood Shotzzy was on the objective. They've just killed Pred. They've then killed Dashi. They know Kenny's probably going to be blocking because otherwise they would have spawned there to flip. So they know Ken would have been the one blocking, not Shotzzy. So now they know they're looking for Shotzzy and Kenny. One would have been in the back, blah, 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 blah. Someone's just got off the hill and they know that's going to be Shotzzy. So they've done a really good job here of turning around because they know what Shotzzy's like. They know OpTic would have just spawned in the right-hand side. They know Shotzzy would have made advantage of the players who had just spawned in blocking. And they've just read Shotzzy's flank really well. Really well. Pred unfortunately lost that initial gunfight. At the end of the day, if Pred wins that gunfight, Shotzzy gets through anyway. So Pred losing this gunfight steps shouldn't have been lost. Shotzzy gets called out because it's a fairly readable play from Shotzzy. And then Dashi then dies. The whole team dies. They get 4 wiped. Faze then push all the way through, spawn OpTic out. And now OpTic are in a little bit of a sticky situation going into P2. That all could have this whole setup thing could have been averted if OpTic had just somebody playing their life in their spawn. You've seen how good Faze are when they've got the good spawns. They're playing their life, right? OpTic need to do way better there. Instead of going 4 down with like 15 seconds left of P1, whoever's despawns in last plays their life. Plays like Draza did right at the back of P2, but when the first, which we saw last time, that's what they need to do instead of just banging the front of the hill over and over again. I imagine... I mean, let's have a look. So we know I'm saying it's not always Kenny. That might have been Kenny. No, it was Dash. So we look at the minimap here. There's 3 OpTic players dead. 1, 2, 3. Dash is the only one alive. If he backs up, he can kill the player who ends up blocking. It's the fact that this player here dies. They then push through. OpTic then spawn out. So Dashy just waits for this player to come out the P1, sits in the back of the spawn playing his life like he's really good at doing. Instead of trying to chase a free kill, he would have got that objective. He would have been able to do a little bit of a better job there. He wins that gunfight. It's a different story, but he needed to position himself. As I say, that's what's so far been the difference maker in Faze and OpTic here. Just Faze is so good at holding their spawn. Now this is a devious setup we see from Faze because Cell is blocking all the way back here. OpTic are just forced to spawn all the way out. And because Draza's pushed all the way up to this area here, OpTic are spawning literally the other side of the map. And that's because you've got Cell blocking and you've got Draza and Simp pushed all the way up. And that's essentially spawned the enemy OpTic all the way out past the statue, meaning they've got an absolute marathon to run. And even if Draza dies here, it is what it is. He's bought Faze 20 seconds easier time just because he's pushed through. So this is, again, a real nice team setup from Faze. They got more kills, they've won their initial gunfights, and then they've applied pressure with a player blocking. It's so huge here. Kenny has managed to get through, so that's a real big play from Kenny. Well, to be fair, 2 of OpTic managed to get through. And they're still holding that spawn. They still had someone blocking that spawn on the bottom left here. And as they got the blood, they left. They understand there's 19 seconds of the hill. We don't want these spawns anymore because the P3 spawns are easy to hold when you're already spawned on the left. They've allowed Dashy to spawn in, and it's not looking good for OpTic from now on.
And then Simp goes on 7 straight. Draza goes on 8 straight, and they start to take over the game.
So again, a real vital gunfight here on the rotate. Kenny and Celium. Ken probably had an AR, Cell had a sub. Been absolutely evaporated as a result, but that gunfight is going to make this hill really difficult. You don't want Cell up here. He's the king of playing his life.
Yeah, I mean, 19 more seconds, but what a P2, man. I mean, you heard it in the comments. A couple of them. Just, I mean, both teams, right? Just making sure we're blocking. You don't want those close spawns, but
real good bait and switch from Faze. And again, there's not much emphasis on OpTic to try and push through. They're happy settling on this time. They're trying to get these initial gunfights. I understand, but they seem to be settled just in this area. They don't seem like they want to get through much. They've got to play for the kills. They've got to allow the kills to come to them. This is the right play, but it's all about winning. Draza somehow managed to leak through.
The other 3 are fried. BZ's double negative, and you got Dashy double negative on the other side. The difference, the rest of the Faze boys popping off. Simp up to 35 currently.
Shotzzy managed to get 2 good kills on the flank. So Shotzzy ends up coming out the vault. Gets 1 kill, gets 2. Yeah, that's not a bad play from Shotzzy.
Trying to make things interesting, maybe down the stretch, but you got to think just 13 points needed, and having left side spawns, you're going to need to fight for this time and then somehow get nearly in a medium break. If you're
there you can see already, there's 10 seconds left of hold. Draza set up. Now it's a 4 versus 1. Questionably, and they know if they push through, Faze is going to spawn behind them. That's the thing here. They know if they push through, Faze is going to spawn out. That is happening. They've got 3 sent out. It's a little bit staggered though. Draz does a huge play here. Now I don't know if they don't have nades or stuns or something, but this is huge from Draz. He managed to get 1, managed to get the second player as he saw him in the Jeep. Shotzzy just didn't manage to get the trade, but that's just a real good play for Draz. He makes the kills here and eventually spawns OpTic out as well now, because don't forget, it's still on the old objective. It's still on P3. OpTic are still going to spawn on P3 spawns, and because he's still back here alive, they're not going to spawn in. Their OpTic are going to spawn all the way out in this back right-hand corner here, which is the furthest way away from P4, sorry. He then plays his life, assuming a trade from Kenny. Kenny decides to then go, okay, you know what, then if I can't kill Draz, I'm going to try and play, try and get these kills and alleviate pressure mid-map to allow my team to get through, which is the right play, again. But unfortunately, Draz just picks up Kenny like he knew it was there. So absolutely insane. And that is pretty much the game.
There was a chance for OpTic to put together a nice little game, but
Dash does manage to get in at the very end, but it doesn't matter. So on this one particular game, it's not all Kenny. I know he has some absolute stink bombs, but you can see it's just the way Faze set up is unbelievable, and the way they play their life when their players are blocking, insane. Super good cut out of Faze. Obviously, they're currently arguably the best in the game. Yeah, let me know your thoughts on the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to mute this slightly. It's going to turn this down. Let me know if you enjoyed it. Let me know if you want to see more of this sort of stuff, or, you know, this was one good one for now. We'll leave it at that. Let me know. If I get the support, I'll do more. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao for now.